Hello, hello, everybody.
Hi, Jeremy.
How are you doing, Jolene?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Good morning.
Morning, Estella. Denis.
Hi there. Happy
Hi.
New Year.
Happy New Year indeed. Reporting from Canada.
Hello,
Soon, soon,
Jeremy.
soon going to be a state of the United States. Just joking. Just joking.
Don't don't be saying that now.
Just, it's just one of those, off the topic jokes.
I'll have to kill him
it's,
first.
it's not a Katina style joke. It's, it's
No,
a,
I know. Just
it's a,
joking.
it's a poking joke. Yep. No, I'm glad you got good humor. Uh, All right. Well, there's a reason I think why there's like 9 people in today's meeting. I guess the word got out. I am going to demo what it is. So this Monday, I demoed how to upload Ellis Engage data. So for the ones that were there, that's more not group networking, right? So we did the LSA kind of upload. Took us about an hour to do it. I anticipate that this might be more more time. So we might have to break it up because there's obviously some things to understand, comprehend, and then, do because in any way, shape, or form, it's just complex in itself, right? So I tried to make it as easy since I've done it a couple of times, which means a lot. Um, I tried to simplify my process to it so that it was just more streamlined. And then I started doing that for all the people that I was helping with and found myself that I would find little hiccups here and there and just tweak my approach so that it was always anticipating the little things about dealing with uploading data. So with that, I guess we will start. So I thank you everybody for showing up to this Legal Shield and Field Notes webinar this January 16th, Thursday. And I am going to share my screen. And I got a couple of files that I want to share with you guys. So
And we're recording, right?
we are definitely recording
Okay.
because the upload that we did, remember we did one where you kind of showcased your way of doing it, Cassie?
Yes, sir.
And then we switched up all the categories and added a bunch more, right? So now that tutorial, even though it's still good, it doesn't match, right? So people aren't seeing the same thing. And so
Right.
obviously
Right.
it's time to
Yep.
redo it. So when so let's start with creating a folder within your I think if you create a folder within your computer, and this is my little test data one. So whenever I help people, right, I end up creating a folder for them. And in that folder, if you guys are more network, then I'll call it network. If you guys are more group, then I'll call it group, right? Just make it easier for me to kind of flip the switch between the different styles of CRMs, right? And how people want to use it. So I create a group. In the group folder, I create a text document to where I post things, right? Where I basically have it here from the ShieldAtWork, and I'll show you what I kind of copy here so that I can copy paste from here, have access to the data, not have to go back and forth on ShieldAtWork, which will slow you down. Because your first thing that you need to do is you need to get your data, right? So there's a couple of files that we need to start grabbing. So I'm going to start with uploading, but the group contacts, right? So it's the group number with the group account name, that information. And so let me get to
So that's an account view, not a member view.
that is, I'll show you.
All the group accounts that you have in ShieldAtWork.
It's all of these guys. And you would do this export data group. Do you see that right there at the bottom? Export group detailed data.
Yeah, so that's an account as opposed to a member view.
Correct, correct. So this is the first
Okay.
start,
I see.
right? We've got to first do this one. Then what I like to do before this is, let me see if I have my screenshots. So in order to put the information that I need here, I sort this where it says show 25 entries per page. I go all entries. So I'll drop it down, go all, and it will be a long list for some of you, right? Even 50 is still a long list, but in general, if you've got more than that, it's going to be a long one. Now, I sort it by group number so that it's in order by group number. And then what I do is I essentially highlight all of this data and I basically drag, highlight, and go all the way down to the bottom. Now you're going to get these dates. I've never used them, so I'm not really worried about those. But when you copy all of this, you have to, right? So when you copy all of that, I paste it into here. And I'll give myself some space because usually I'll have some stuff at the top, just things that when I'm copy pasting from the Excel file, I would rather, since I can already anticipate it, I would rather just go ahead and do one manually and then paste it here and then just copy it full. And I'll show you more as we kind of get through it. So I leave that kind of stuff at the top just because, there's going to be a sea of accounts and numbers and stuff like that. So that's what I use this little text document. You can use a Word document. I like text document because if you paste into it, it removes all format and it basically just gives you account number, space, group account name. Now, I left this one blank because you can see that this is a really, really long name and then it doesn't finish and then it has a dot, 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 dot. So when you go into this account and you select it and open into another page, right? At the top, it says account number. Well, it doesn't say the account number, and then it says, let me see if I show. No, I don't. So, because that would actually show the account information. But when you go to the account, it'll have the account number, and then it'll have the full name with no little dot dots. When I'm doing each one of these downloads, I will then grab it from there, and I will paste it so that I have the full name minus these dots, right? Now, the reason why I do that is because some of these will be like firefighters of a specific county, right? And so it'll have the same name, but at the end, it'll have just a difference. Like, I forget what it is. Bob mentioned it, but it's like one for the members and then one for another account. Like, it's weird, but it'll
A
have,
payroll or a bank draft. So one of them is a payroll account and the other one's a bank draft account or
there's
something.
there's a good example, right? But it's the same everything, but since you don't see it here, you just have a difference of a number and then the same title. So it's like which one's which. And only you guys would know because you guys know more of the numbers and things like that. But for me, I'm trying to keep it simple. So I do that each time I see these little three dots and I'll see it in the file. It'll also import those little three little dots. So every time I see that, before going to the download, I hit account. Let me see if this is yes. Okay, so that's a
What I'm trying to understand, Jeremy, is when you put this over in your notepad or your Word document or whatever,
mhm.
what purpose is that serving for us?
It's about to come up.
Okay.
It's about to hit you. So um with that understood, you guys gonna have to download all of this data, right? And when you download this data, you are gonna get files that look like this. Okay. So when you go to here and you do all active members, no dependents, and you hit submit, it downloads this file. And then you need to click the little file next to it.
Well, if we're doing an account level, I'm trying to understand because it's like you're switching between account level and now we're talking members in
You're
the
right.
account.
Nope, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. But
Okay.
it is because I have to explain this because this is like the first part. So like obviously, yes,
Okay.
you're correct. You download this, you'll have that file, right? And you will need to, I don't think you need to rename it because I think the way that it shows up thank you for pointing that out. It'll show up like this. Group details, export group details report. To me,
Hmm.
because it's one file, that's easy to understand, right?
Right.
But with these ones, you're going to have a bunch of these ones, right? You're going to have a
Right.
bunch of member
Right.
ones. So this one's easy. That goes in. Oh, that's right. I didn't, I skipped one step. I call one G and then I call one M.
Hmm.
So this one goes into here and then this one goes into here.
Okay.
Well, they're going to start going in essentially, right? Because this is going to be a long sea of all of your accounts. There's 100, there's going to be 100 Excels. So,
Hmm.
alrighty. So you download this file, keep it off to the side. You copy all of this stuff to help you build this little file because it's going to be needed for when you start to download each and every member account data for each one. So I guess I can just continue with the group because this is going to get I don't want to complicate you guys. So this is some edited data, right? So this isn't anybody's real data. Now, if anybody knows, this is what it looks like, right? These are all the exported group data fields,
Yep.
right? There's some, and if I remind myself correctly, I think this one is edited correctly and it has the emails. Remember, there was a problem where this data would come up shifted and it was all weird, Kathy?
Yep, I
I
do.
think I think I remember. I think I went ahead and edited all of that. So this is all of that data that comes from the export members, sorry, the export group. So now the challenge is to get this into the system, right? Now let me think of this real quick. Now another thing that I do is I go to my, and I do this a lot, and you guys maybe should think about doing this a lot too, just so that you guys have the most current categories. Sometimes you guys make changes, last minute, you don't remember. And so if you have like an old file that's a template, that could be a problem because it may have old data. So I always do this fresh, right? There's not a moment in which I'll like use an old one just for the chance of something being incorrect. And then me obviously, having to backtrack and to deal with all of that. So what I do is basically highlight one person, do the download, all columns, this one person, and here he comes. And here's the field notes. So I will take this top header and I will create insert a row above. I will copy this one, go to the top and paste it as so. Obviously they don't match, but that's what we're gonna obviously do is make them match. So let's now, and this also will save you from having to go back and forth field notes and having to pull this up and to go through this. However, if you needed to, right, get any of these, since you can't copy these, you can basically hit edit fields. And then now you can copy these just in case you're in a binder or in a bind and you just want to grab one quickly. You could do it through here. However, this will save you because it's all listed right above the other headers. And then so now what you need to do is just map the data, right? Now you could just type, because group is just another hashtag, but for me, I don't want to make any errors. So I'll just go find group at the top, copy it, and I'll put it here. So now this header is what I'm taking field notes headers and I'm putting it above your guys' headers. That way I'm slowly mapping the data here instead of doing it when uploading the data, which I will show you when that happens as well. So this saves you time because I've literally done it the other way when uploading the data through the download feature, right? Through this.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it through here, it gets confusing. You got to go back and forth
Mm-hmm.
through a bunch of files. You end up spending way much more time and it's a headache. Like I literally get a headache from. So I like to map from like this style. So here I will take this one, right? It's the first name and group name. Now, a lot of people have asked me, like, why do you do the things that you do? And it's because Kathy trained me and Kathy trained. And a lot of the beginners with field notes have trained me in the way that they do it. So I just follow it because I feel that it's not too bad. And it works with me. And if it's the majority of them, how they do things, I think it'll help everybody else. So that's where that comes from. I've had people ask me like, what do I care or why like that? And I'm like, well, I just do what I told, you know what I mean? So, and then I also pay attention, follow the best practices, and I feel that that's the best practice. So, and then it makes it easier to identify a group account because you'll see the name. If you were to see just the point of contact in your mind, that may work for you because you obviously know names, but for searching like just the group account, I think it might be better to just have the name. So I think that this is the best method, right? So with that said, we will put the group name where the first name is, so that shows up at the first slot. That way you can identify it from a mile away that this is the group account. Address 1 and 2, obviously we have slots for that, but we call it address 1, address 2. So like I said, you can copy paste, or you can go here, you can delete. They're still going to get recognized, right? I just don't like to make mistakes, so I'll do a lot of copy pasting. Just makes it easy. But you do have to verify that obviously you are verbatim. And I think it is cap sensitive. So if it's not capitals, then please make it capitals as you see up here. So city, state, and zip, city, state, and zip. So that should map appropriately. And so we're up to this one. So company phone, I'm going to have to say that that's primary contact. Now, are these landlines?
Yes.
Okay. So for text messaging these people, I wouldn't necessarily, it doesn't have to be in the primary contact slot. The primary contact
Well,
slot.
corporate doesn't usually have the text number. Often we do. So it's important that you don't, delete what you have in there on the cell phone number, and that you put the landline or the company line on the correct number, or however you manage it in your CRM.
Essentially, that's correct. So if you know that these are landlines, obviously you're not going to be sending text messages to these people. You'll just use it as, you'll just call it on your own cell phone or something like that. But if you wanted to put that as the primary contact slot, that's fine. Just know they're landlines. If you send a text message to it, you're basically wasting your time. If you wanted to put it into the office / fax phone, do that. The only thing is you just have to either take this one and put it here, or take primary contact and put it there. For just demonstration purposes, I'm just going to take this one, primary contact, and put it over the company phone. Doesn't look like there's any other phone numbers for this one, so most likely I'm just going to leave that alone. Primary contact. So here is where we would use salutation. Now, once again, people have asked me, why salutation under primary contact? So, okay. So there's also an issue with this one. These are full names, right? So what I would do instead of doing salutation with this one is I would use group primary contact. I would map this one to group primary contact. I would do that so that I have the full name of the gentleman, but I would also add additional, and you can do before, after, really doesn't matter. And then I'm just going to extract the first names. And I love to use ChatGPT for this stuff. So let's go to chat. Let me see if it doesn't open up anything weird that I've been chatting with it.
I just can't wait for Elon Musk to have robots that can do this for us.
Oh my God. I don't think I'd like the robots. I don't know. I wouldn't adapt too well to a robot, that's for sure. So, all right. So something that you guys might not know, but you can use ChatGPT for this stuff, right? For doing kind of tedious tasks. So this is one of them. Now I know you guys may have the knowledge to do like a split text something within the rules of, but I don't know why either it's the version that I have sometimes, but those tools don't work. Either I don't know how to use them or they don't work. But I'll tell Chat, give me the first name only in this. I do quotes. I don't know why it downloads a file, but I remove it. I really don't need it. And then you just hit, and it's going to give me a list of all the first names. Then I want to put that here, right? So essentially, just going to go ahead and grab everybody, go to the file, and there's a specific copy paste that I do, which is a Control Shift Paste. And then it gives you this thing. And you select unformatted data or unformatted text. And then you hit OK. And then this tells you that it's basically going into all these cells. And so you hit OK. And I like to put it right next to this one so that I could see that I've got the right name. I can just quickly do like a spot check. And as you can see, job well done, ChatGPT. And then now I'll take the salutation, copy it, and put it there. So now when you set up emails strictly for your group, you can now put salutation as a smart tag, not the first name group name, because nobody wants to say, hey, Breeze Auto, we're open enrollment is coming up next month, yada, 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 right? You would rather have it say, hey, David. And so that is why we would do that. Now, group primary contact. Now we've got the primary contact's info. So because that's the main email, we just want to grab email and put that there. And then primary contact phone. Would this be the primary contact phone number to this gentleman? Is that how that would work?
Yeah.
Well then, if that's the case, now would these most likely be whatchamacallits, cell phones and things?
No, the other way around, if there's a difference, but a lot of times they're exactly the same coming out of ShieldAtWork.
So it is what it is. I guess you would basically have that through your maybe own personal data and dealing with the person. You might have their personal information, I would assume. So maybe.
Yeah. Yep.
So if that's the case, then you obviously want to, right? Primary contacts mainly for cell phones, but you've got office phone that you can use. I think there is another uh, phone number, day phone, right?
Well, they also have fax numbers and things like that, but very few people use faxes anymore, so I don't usually bother with those, but you can decide how you want to map it.
Email, exactly. You can decide how you want to map it, and you can decide how you want to call these. If you wanted to, like, slash day phone, office phone, or work phone, right? Those are all things that you guys can do, and you guys can do that in your CRM, and you can do that here, right? Here, like this
Well,
one's primary
once you've
contact.
done it in the CRM and you download that information,
It's here.
whatever, however you put it in your CRM is what's going to be in that top row that you're
Mhm.
going to map so that it goes to the correct spot.
Correct. But for some people that are starting out that haven't really put any data, you can decide for yourself how you want to, because not only does this need to be good for group, it needs to be good for members. So that's really up to you how you want to manage that, but you can easily just edit these and save. I recommend do one edit and save, another edit and save, because it doesn't recognize you editing 10 things and then just hitting one save doesn't recognize that at all. So just heads up in that. But yes. And then if you still needed to do on the fly something just because you remembered, you could still do it here. You can just then copy it from here, and then you can just put it back into here just so that you kind of keep moving, or delete the file, re-download it again, and then now know that it's all formatted correctly. So let's continue with mapping some of this.
Just what I do for in case it's helpful to anybody else is I like to cut and paste the field notes row to replace the ShieldAtWork row because that's what I'm going to map to. And if I leave it, I mean, for me, I've either got to shade it out or I've got to cut and paste it so that I know I've already mapped that field. Because inevitably, I mean, there's a lot of fields here that we're mapping, and you know, I have maybe it's my lack of attention or something, I don't know, but phone calls come in, you have priority interrupts, whatever, and then you're going back going like, okay, did I map that one yet? Did I get that? So for me, if I cut it from the first row and put it in the second row, then that way I know I've got things mapped and I can see if there's anything that's questionable or that I need to think about or that I need to call and bother Jeremy about or send him a text, whatever, and say, hey, what about this? What do I do here? I forgot. Or how does this work?
One thing I would do, and I sometimes would do, but since I like to just move kind of linear, right? But you can also highlight them, you know,
Yeah, that's the other thing I do sometimes.
and
So,
then you
but
just highlight, 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 and then you follow along because you're right. Not everybody has the 6 hours they can sit in front of this and then just do it undevoted and kind of follow where you're going, right?
or can
So
focus for 6 hours to do this. So it's not that it's 6 hours, but yeah.
for people with big groups, this you get into the hours of, so just downloading data is hours, right? So that's a whole nother thing, but just downloading data is going to take some time. So just do it in chunks. You know, if you've got 100 groups, it takes about what, every 10 to 15 is going to be about an hour's worth of time of just downloading, because it takes about 5 minutes to organize it, put it in its place, and kind of keep track of it. And if you don't do that there at that moment, when you go back to try to make sense of it all, you're going to have 100 accounts called the same thing, where you have to open it up and then look at the bottom to figure out what's the name of the account, which is crazy. So, back to basically mapping. So this is the primary contact. Then we have this authorizing officer I can see here, right? I don't know if it's usually the same person. Is it usually the same person?
No.
Okay. But there is a place down here. Member number. Where are you? Authorizing officer. There it is. Spouse name, authorizing officer. Copy. And you get, where is that? Authorizing. Now, with the dates, we're going to have to format these dates. I do not think that our system will accept the slashes. If I'm not correct, let me see if there's a date field that I can look at. Date, day phone, production date. So, well, even though it does say, I highly doubt that it does, that those dashes, I think it's only slashes is how it accepts it. But I will have to make a note of that and tell the developer so that it's because I don't think that that's the case. I think it'll still error out. So with this one, we'll have to exchange it for slashes, something. I guess you could do that with, I'm pretty sure you can do that with, is it this thing? Find and replace. Where is my find and replace? Control H. See, I don't know why it doesn't pull up. Can you guys give me a moment? I'll be right back. I apologize. Need to attend to something real quick.
It's nice to see you, Jolene. I left Kansas 10 years ago. Haven't seen you in a while.
How are you?
I'm well. It's
Good.
cold here, but we don't have snow like you're having for now.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite an ice storm with 7 inches of snow on top of it.
We had clear ground here at that particular time the other day. So.
Hey, Cassie,
Yes.
this is Jolene. Why would we need that authorizing officer?
Um, you don't, I mean, some people, I like to just have everything that's in ShieldAtWork be available in Fieldnotes in case I need it. I don't actually use authorizing officer in Fieldnotes, so you could very easily just say, I'm not going to download that. So, it's up to you if you want to have it in the system or not.
Okay. All right. Was just curious on how you would use that.
Yeah, I don't use it. So, I mean, some people only want to put in stuff that they're going to use. I'm kind of like, if it's there and I can just leave it in the download and it has a home, if you will, in Fieldnotes where it can go. It can be there. It doesn't hurt anything. So it's just part of the database.
Okay. Is Jeremy going to send out the column headers that he wants us to use, or can you do that?
You can, I mean, if you want to see what I use or what Kathy Lucas uses, he's, I think, authorized to share that from both of us. So, some people, my brain waves kind of fit more how they think about it. And some people, Kathy does it a little bit different than me. So you can look at both sets of headers and decide how if you want to use one or the other, or some hybrid, or your brain waves are completely different and you want to do it a little differently. So I mean, you can kind of configure the system however you want, but obviously, Kathy and I have been using this for years now, and so when we started, everything was sort of titled for real estate, which obviously worked for real estate but made little sense to our world.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes to whatever she said. That's
She was asking about if you could share the headers that Kathy and I used for field notes so that when she sets up her system, she can look at some examples and at least have a starting point.
I did share those with her. What I saw as there was
Oh, okay.
a different order between them. So I was I was wondering why the order's different from Jolene's because she's new to Kathy's. I thought they would be somewhat kind of not the same, but if it's a date above, it would be a date for her at the bottom, and it wasn't. It was all kind of like mixed up. So the developers were looking into the difference of it, but they didn't. It wasn't like a bug or something like that. So it'll just cause Jolene to have to go from one to the other and find it. So that's where I was like, it'd be better for me to be there watching her and explain that and help her with it instead of just cutting her loose. So back to these dates. Since obviously, as you can see, my find and replace. Oh, that's popping up. Thank you, find and replace. Then we can do the dash and replace with, and then when that is, and then we replace all. Let's see if I don't like that because similar search style searching. All right, so we'll hit yes to this, but we'll also do some formatting. Format cells and fingers crossed. Amen. So now, sorry about that. My drink sweat is rolling onto my arm. All right. So we'll do the same with this one. All replace, yes. All right. Well, I can't say that it'll always be that smooth because it's always been a problem to get these dates formatted correctly. Like with these ones, you'll see that these ones, and I'll say another thing, the more data you map, the longer this takes. If you just need company name, group name, simple address information, phone numbers, but you don't need all of this stuff, right? I guess effective, last production. Okay, I'll follow. I'll say yes to those ones. But like to last contact date, next contact date, the last service date, there might be other ways to track that within the system with the little date fields. But for you, Cassie, do you always map these? Do you super need this information or do you do without?
Well, for me, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah. For me, downloading groups in mass, I only did once because, you know, at least for me, I'm not adding new groups. I mean, maybe over the course of a year because I have a large book of business that I put in field notes in the beginning. So I did a mass download initially for the account level or the group level. And then as, if I get a group that terminates, it's a onesie twosie thing after that, at least in my experience, because on a monthly basis, I'm not getting, 20 or 30 new groups. So it's like, okay, I've got, 5 new groups. I got one from conservation and we opened a few or, whatever the situation is. So it's not difficult to add groups on a onesie twosie basis once you do your bulk download.
True.
So that's where I have, kind of
That's what you've do.
gone with it. I did a bulk download once, and after that, I've done more, just manually putting the group in because a lot of times I'm putting the group in when I'm prospecting before it's actually a group, right? So it's a prospecting or a lead, and then I've given them a proposal, and then as they become a group, I just change the status of it. So, I put it in as a prospect initially, and then it became a group. So I don't have to go, I mean, all the basic information's already in there. So I just kind of convert it over, add the fields that I need to add as we, look at what their open enrollment date's going to be and some of that other stuff.
But these dates, when mapping are these dates for you? And I guess Jolene, if you want to chime in, anybody else wants to chime in, are these important dates for you to capture?
If I've got a field for them, and what I was telling Jolene when you had to step away was that I try to download all the data that's in Shield at Work into Field Notes just so I have it there. But if there's something that I really don't need, like we were talking about the authorizing officer, that's just, it's a historic data point that we
Mhm.
don't really, we're not going to be communicating with that person typically on a regular basis unless it happens to be a smaller group and that's the same, primary contact, right? But over time, primary contact may change, and the person who authorized us to bring Legalshield into the group doesn't change. That's like an event, a one-time event. And so the authorizing officer a lot of times doesn't change.
Gotcha. So
Primary contact might.
either way, in
Yeah,
the sense of, go ahead.
Jeremy, I like the last service date because that reminds me to update the service reports in ShieldAtWork.
Right. No, and that's important, right? So that's what I would think is, what do I use? Am I going to really use this data? Because as you can see, there's time invested for you, and you could literally just be spinning your wheels trying to get everything in all the right places. That could definitely be, you know what I mean? So if you sit back and you say to yourself, out of these three, I only really need this one. Well, then I would say, okay, worry about, formatting this one, going through a little bit of the headaches, because as you can see, I just tried to format this, and for whatever reason, it won't format it. It won't take this date and turn it into this. It just highlights this and says, thank you, Jeremy, come back tomorrow. So this to me doesn't necessarily help me any. So what I do is go back to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT, change the format to this list, and then I'll put that there, delete this little file too, and then I'll put month slash day slash YYY period, and pray that today ChatGPT does what it's supposed to do, and gotta love it. All right, so go from here, highlights, copy. Now, with these dates, what I do like to do is I like to throw a column before or after, and I'd like to just dump them in there. Obviously, do the shift or the control shift V and do the unformatted text. This tells me that that's how it's going in, and then what I can do is I can spot check, just because sometimes ChatGPT might mess up the order. So you could see that these dates are good. And if just one is out of whack, it'll throw the whole list out of whack. So I just kind of start from the bottom, and there it is. And then I can take this and copy it for the most part, put it over here. And if I needed to delete this, I would delete, could shift to the left, and there we go. So that is what I would do, is use ChatGPT for this. It just, for whatever reason, for me, it just works, and it makes things easy, right? So let's see what else we can map. Active members, this one, right? Cancel date, same, anything with a date or any of these like things like this, they have the same issues. They have to be in this format. They have to be slashes. Just be careful with the order. Like if you copy paste, that it is in order. So always add a space next to it so that you can view it. Now let's look at these ones, these employees. So let me just go ahead and shorten this so that we can think that's a little bit too much. All right, so I think the categories are towards the bottom.
You may have some good news financially.
Did it come through?
I can't tell for sure, but I can tell you based on the number, it's not likely.
No problem. Where is, there they are. Number of active plans, number of active members. So number of active plans, copy. There's not enough space. That's weird. And then I think this one is just the word difference is number. Yep. So now those will get mapped. I'm gonna ignore those just to proof of concept and show you guys a little bit of what has to be done. This OE month, let's take a look. I think there is one for OE month. It's at the bottom. There it is. Copy that guy. And here we go. So I guess it's minus the slash. And essentially, you're going to be doing this, looking for all the fields that you need to map. No, these are ours. So, and I don't know if you look, some of this data is just like this. Obviously, my name is in there, but that's just to obviously not have sensitive data of like people's names. But I don't know if anybody really kind of uses all of this stuff, right? That's just my opinion. And if you're not going to use it, then there's no reason to be like trying to map it all, to tell you the truth. So for me, if you guys don't need it, you guys can definitely just, whack it out of there, because I don't see this, I don't see it ever really used. And sometimes it's just the same information. Anybody know what this LA1 online access date is?
That's the date that the Legal Shield Associate, that's Legal Shield Associate 1, that's the date that we got access to Shield at Work. Totally worthless.
And then whether if it's a Y or no,
That
totally.
means you do have access on that group or not. It wouldn't be on the group if you didn't have access to it. It wouldn't be on this report if you as an associate didn't have access to it. But when you get over to Legal Shield Associate 2, say you're not the servicing associate on the group, somebody else is the servicing associate. I mean, you need to know you want to know who the servicing associate is, and you want to know who the other authorized associates are. But do they have access to Shield at Work? You don't really need that in Fieldnotes at all.
And I would assume that's something that you just manage either mentally, like who's who, who's the one, that kind of thing. So, like you said, I don't think that that is something that you would now. PA, what is PA? PA name?
That's a PA system. Don't you remember those?
That's how we used to do the I pledge allegiance. But does does is this information that you need to, because there is emails, there is names to people. I do think in some cases the names are the same from authorizing officer, but at the end,
Generally, those are going to be the same as your primary account person. So you may already have that in the system, so you may not need that.
is that primary
Because
account? Is that what it
I
stands
don't
for?
do this stuff on a regular basis on the mass download for groups. So that's why I'm like, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm thinking it is the same. So
I Every time that I've done this with somebody, it's never been, I usually kind of take their file and I'll start going from the beginning and saying, okay, this is what we're going to map. This is what we're going to map. What's important to
right.
you? And I've never
Yep.
seen anybody get past right around here, all of this stuff over here. I don't see anybody asking me or requesting me to help them map all that data. So
Right.
that would be something, if that's the case, right, then I would just keep it extremely simple and just do this. Yep, right. I think that's the end of the list. And then I think there was like 20 something people, and I would delete it. And entire rows, let's just do delete all. So now we're basically dealing with just this data, OE month, employment eligibility. This is, I do think that we have, what is the evergreen? I know the evergreen is kind of something forever, but is that
It's
something
just
that you guys,
when can we do enrollments with the group? So that is important.
enrollment, employee,
Some groups will only allow us to enroll during open enrollment. Some will let us enroll all year long, so it's evergreen.
gotcha. There it is, enrollment eligibility. So, and because I think it's verbatim, I don't think, yeah. See, so in some cases, a lot of these are mapped, but to play it safe, you can always just, make sure you have it. But I would say with this, we've essentially mapped as much as we possibly can, right? So when getting to that, let's go ahead and clean up the data. I do headers first. I don't delete anything. I don't I don't delete columns. I essentially do headers first. That's kind of like the main thing to do, because if you start deleting these things like columns and start removing data, when you later want to clean things up, it I find it more confusing, right? So what I like to do is do the headers first, so then I can then get rid of the top header, which is field notes, and I can essentially just delete the row now that I have this. And now that I know that this is the file that I'm going to use to upload, then I start kind of like cleaning up rows and not getting confused with the two different headers. So like with this, if we're not going to map it and there's nothing to be there, we can delete that. These dates will stick because they are formatted correctly. This doesn't have anything, so we can delete it. These are good. Oh, number of employees. Interesting. So, like I said, whenever you do something like that and you make a mistake, you can always go to this thing and effective date, number of employees, members, employees details, active plans. I think there is another slot that is just for that. No, there isn't. So I think that's going to be the one. So I'll go ahead and grab this one. I know that it has these number of active plans, numbers of active members. However, I think this was the way it was labeled before, and then we added all of these. And so that's why it says that. But I will just make an adjustment number of these and then put that. And of course, that's the header, so it'll map essentially. Let's go through these dates here. Are these formatted? No, these are not formatted. So we'll get rid of those. These have nothing, so we'll get rid of those. Delete the columns. OE month, eligibility. So these are the ones that this is what we're going to push and upload. I think we split the names, right? We did that. We got the group primary contact. We got all of that information. Just one last check. Another thing I like to do is I like to put this and I like to highlight from the last row to the beginning. And then down here, it's going to tell you 22 columns. And I'll tell you why that's important. So when we just open this up, now we can copy this, put this aside, and now we're good to upload our data. So let me just uncheck this, upload here, start the upload. I'm going to use this one. However, if you save this file, you could use this file. It's the same thing essentially. However, I have grown a fan to doing this copy paste style just because I don't have to save a file and then I don't have to find where it is. Like that to me sometimes is a lot more confusing opposed to I've got the file in front of me. I know what I'm doing. Let me just paste it into here. You want to select tab for this option because we're using Excel, although you have other options, right? But since we're using Excel, tab is the one. And then we hit next. With this one, what we want to do is we want to make sure that this is basically selecting the header row. And so don't do this. Be careful if you click on stuff because it'll move it down and then you'll move over and you might not pick up onto that. This has to be like that because this is going to recognize the header, make your life really easy. And you can see how everything is just essentially recognized. So next step is doing all of this. So remember when I said
In pink.
22 row or 22 columns? Now what I do instead of actually seeing if each one is done, I just count 22 of these that have been selected. If it says select a column, I don't deal with it. And now that I think about this, if you click this one, and do you see how these ones I can't select, but I can select company phone, I can select primary contact phone. Those means those ones haven't been selected, right? So you see how I can't, but I can. So this one hasn't been selected, this one hasn't been selected, but all of the other ones have been selected. So I'm curious to know primary of these ones, oh, that doesn't have anything. So I don't know why we need that one. I should have deleted before. And then the primary contact. So why do I also like doing this copy paste one? Because if I needed to do this and delete this column and then just quickly highlight this again so that it doesn't error out, you can just backspace it, select all, delete it, delete, paste, tab, next, header, next, and we're back to the same one. And then so primary contact phone still pops up. I'm curious where the mapping, the primary contact one. Let me just quickly take a look.
You
Abandon.
could just select it in the file, right?
Say that again.
You could just select it in the file.
I mean, I can, but I'm just curious why it is. So let me this one. Oh, primary phone, that's the cell, and then primary contact phone. Oh, that one should have been given a different. I should have given that maybe the office phone. I think that's what when we were discussing it, I didn't pick which one, so I didn't change it. But basically this is a good thing so that you can see how if you need to support yourself, how you could do so, right? And now I can do this, map it to this field, and now I can just quickly go right back to highlighting all of this again. And that's kind of like why I like this copy paste, because I don't have to save the file again. I don't have to do all of that. I can just basically make my corrections, go to here, paste it back in, select tab, hit next, know that this is being, and now I think I deleted one, so there would be 22. But if you look here and none of these highlight, that means they're they're all recognized and mapped. So if you doubted you could count each one, you'll most likely get to 21, or you can quickly select a column and just quickly see if any of these pop up in the highlighted, because if it does, then you do have to go find the appropriate one and then just map it. But in this case, it's done. So now that this is all recognized, you go to the next step. And this is where all of this work that we did with mapping and doing it here, which in some cases takes time and is a pain in everybody's butt. But this is an even bigger pain in the butt, because if you have any errors, it's going to show up like this, right? And let's just say, and I've seen it to where in your guys' data, there's like 100 zeros, right? If there's no field, they just put a zero. I would delete that from here first, right? And what I do is I just put the filter, and then I'll do this, and then I'll just delete it. Because if you don't do it here and you go back to here, you're going to have so many of these to deal with that it's going to drive you crazy, because if you have a lot of data, it's just a pain in the butt. Now, there's also this little thing that says show invalid rows only. And that's so that you don't have to go through each and every one of these little pages. For some people, you could have a lot of pages, right? So what I like to do is to select this so that it shows me the invalid row, and it'll show it all in pink, right? And so let's say that this was like just a wrong line. You don't really need it. You could exit from here, it'll exclude it, and you're good to go. But if it is that you need it, it'll tell you what is the problem. And the problem is this zero, because zero is not an accepted, it's not an accepted phone format. So you hit zero, you do this, and now you essentially can go back to this, hit invalid rows again, and you're going to see no data found, no invalid data found. Doesn't mean that there's no data found, it's just invalid. And then with this, now you can hit submit, right? So now you've got all of your rows mapped correctly. There's no errors. Everything's going to go where you intend it to show up. And now you can hit submit. It's going to do this. And I would say with this amount of contacts, it could take 5-10 minutes. One thing that you're going to get is an email to yourself with this upload. So in the file, we did how many rows of data?
It looked like it was about 25, something like that. I don't remember. We had 22 columns, but I didn't pay attention to the rows.
I think it was like 26. So 25.
Okay.
Right. So 25 minus 1, because that's the header. So that's obviously not doing anything. We've got 24 groups that we just uploaded. So in the email that you guys are going to get, now mine's going to error out a bunch because I've done this before with the same list of people. But I can show you what the file is going to look like. It's going to say your name. It's going to be your account. And I haven't gotten the email yet. So as we wait for it, any questions? I think we've kind of, brought up maybe some questions as we've gone along, but and maybe Jolene, now that you've seen this is like step one. So for next Thursday, we're going to pick up doing member data. I can show you, right, if we move through this step, I can show you personally. So, but we'll still do it for next Thursday, which will be member data. And I'll explain things about why doing member data. But this is the first step, getting your groups in. But does anybody have any questions so far?
This makes sense to me.
It makes sense to you. You follow it?
Yeah. This is a lot easier to follow. than what I thought it would be. So
I mean, like I said, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Maybe I make it sound worse than really what it is, but I don't want people to like think it's a cakewalk and then they actually have, they actually like burn some brain cells on it and then they get upset with me and be like, well, that wasn't easy. And I was like, well, you know what? I never said it was. Now,
Easy, easy is a relative thing.
yes. And that's for me, now this is easy. For me, like I don't even have to like now I just do it automatically because I just know the challenges, what it is to map the data and stuff like that. So for me, and then I don't sweat over the small things. You know what I'm saying? I ask quick questions. Hey, do you need it? And then I ask, hey, what do you do with it? Because in some cases they're like, I need it. And then I'm like, but what are you doing with it? And they're like, I don't know. And then I'm like, well, then we don't need it. And then the 20 minutes that we're going to spend here going back and forth with each other, we could save that talking about something else. So I just got the upload file. So you will get a file like this. It'll tell you how many rows of data have been found. It'll tell you if you did it correctly because 24 will show 24, right? That's not the case with me because those already exist in my system. So all of them come back as failed upload, but it's a good thing to see this because when that happens, you basically download the file that it gives you and then you go to the error file. And it is called error file with, I think, the date and time, if I'm not correct. And then this is what it gives you. It gives you the error, right? So the similar contact already exists. It'll give you the contact that this is my file that I uploaded. This is what Fieldnotes has. And then it's looking at email that I gave it, and then the email that's there, and then I guess requested phone. I guess it didn't pick that up. However, with just having contact, name, email, that's enough for this to say stop. So with member data, this happens a lot. I've seen people have, okay, so like when you upload members from like LS Engaged, some of the associates might be there as well, but they also have plans. And so let's say you already uploaded your associates and then you upload your members and then they show up. So the system doesn't add them and you get this report with all of your, basically you start to recognize, you're like, oh, that's an associate, that's an associate, that's an associate. You're like, oh shit, right? So if you had just a couple associates, like maybe, anything within 10 or anything in which you could just do manual updates, that's what I would do, right? I would basically just go use this, or you could use this field, copy it and close this one. You can put it into here and you can hit search. Now you've got Breeze Auto. You can open up Breeze and then you could just basically go add his member plan because most likely his associate number's here, but he doesn't have this info. He might be missing maybe some spheres, you know what I mean? And then or a monthly premium, I would essentially just make those changes, save the data, and go to the next one. And then if the list isn't extremely too long, that's what I would do. If the list was extremely too long, right, I would go back to the list that I used, right? I would go back to this one. Did I already cancel? I might have. No, here it is. So what I would do to this one, if I wanted to obviously do it from here, is I would use the ones that error out here, like Breeze Auto, and I would just do this and then like highlight it and then go find, let's just say I go find the problematic childs, right? The problem childs, and I'll just select them like this. And now I have them, now I have them highlighted essentially. And then with this, I think you can sort by color. And now you have them in a big old chunk, make it easier to kind of focus on them. And then if you wanted to, you could download your whole database quickly, right? Instead of just doing it with the one person, you could just do all columns and everybody. And I'll show you what that is. And then now you have this file. It just downloaded. Whoops. I just got to clear the filters. Now we can download everybody. And then what you can do is like with the name, you can put the filters here and you can search, right? So I think we did Breeze as one. There's Breeze Auto. You can hit OK. Now you have this. So what you could do is you can then go into these fields and then just edit the data here, right? Just go ahead and add into these fields the missing data. And then you can go back, find the new one that you need to find. Let's say neighborhood clinic. You can put those people in. That's going to find them. And then you can go through, make the changes that you need. Once you've done that, you essentially go back to clearing the filters, and now you have your whole full list. And because these have this, and you have all of the columns, you can essentially either save this or do as I did, highlight everybody. I don't think, oh, so 126, you can highlight everybody again, do this, go to uploading data. I'm still a fan of this stuff. Tab, next, header, next. Every single one of them is downloaded because we downloaded all headers. So all the information is, you don't even really have to kind of review it. I wouldn't, ID, everything is there. Then you go to next and you have everything, but you really don't have to worry about that. You just have to basically look at any invalid rows, which why did these show back invalid? Let's take a look. It should show it in pink. Here it is. Oh, so these emails have spaces in them, right? So I didn't catch that, but if this was me, I won't even worry about that. And then so that is, well, here we do this. So just imagine making edits that aren't just as easy as clicking and hitting backspace. This would be like if you had to like actually go in there and change field or, add more information and if you had to do this for like 50, 60, this would be a super pain in the butt. But now that it is essentially cleaned up, now you can hit submit. 16 rows, please. Something interesting. Invalid, show all rows. Invalid rows. And there's more to deal with. Amen. Oh, gotta love it. So you can see how this turns quickly into a pain in the butt. But depending on how good you get, we can clean these up relative. So let's see if we still have, there's still no more invalid stuff. Go to, oh no, don't want to do that. And then let's see if we still got any invalid stuff. Oh yeah, gotta love it. So I'm just gonna delete this for giggles. I don't know where that G came in, but again, the reason of editing your data. Oh yeah. And let's clean this up. Okay, so all that data is now cleaned. Invalid rows. See if we got any. So no more data found. And now you can go back and you can hit submit. And it's going to basically upload the contacts that you just updated. And this is, I guess, a quick demo of like mass updating by downloading your list, your full list of clients, right? Sorry, by downloading this file with everybody, you can make changes to these files or to these cells, add data, subtract data, edit it, save it. You can either push it up with this file. What's important is that it has this ID number that that is the identifying, I guess, contact. So this says that it is an existing contact, and then the system will go through and match. But for updating, this is what helps update this file. If not, if you didn't have this row for whatever reason, if it was deleted, all of these people would show up as duplicates because they would match first, last name, email, phone number, and they just wouldn't go in. So, but yeah, that's, I guess, in a nutshell, how to upload group data. That's kind of like the first step, get these guys uploaded. And then you guys can do members, which will be something that we discuss next Thursday. So so I don't know if you guys have any questions with the last part. I hope it is clear, but if there is any questions and you don't want to ask me here, you're welcome to send me an email or set up a moment, can kind of go over it personally just because maybe something's not sticking. But yeah, I hope this was a help and didn't make things that much more confusing. So I'm glad that Jolene understood it. I think if he can get it, everybody will get it. But yeah, I know this is a huge learning curve for some. So if you guys have questions, definitely bring it to me so that I can help you understand it. Alrighty, everybody. Well, it was a pleasure. I definitely thank you. and I'll be walking into my next meeting. So going into my back-to-back. But I definitely thank you guys for showing up, taking part.
Thanks, Jeremy.
And thank you, Jeremy.
All righty, guys. Well, you guys have a great day. It was a pleasure seeing y'all, and ciao, ciao.
Okay, all right.
Bye-bye now.